Rolling.
How do you know that one's on?
I
Just
trust
hope.
in the faith.
Okay.
Otherwise, we just have a one camera setup.
All right.
That's my biggest, that's what I hate about having that. But it's a great B camera to get cutaway stuff.
Okay. Sounds good.
How do I look? Teeth?
Yeah, you look
Nothing?
good.
Nothing in them? Hello, good morning or afternoon, whenever you're actually listening to this and watching this. I'm Mike Orte, here with
Lida Bunting with Znimka Creations.
Thank you very much. So Lida and I were introduced to a mutual acquaintance, Joshua.
Yes.
And after hitting it off, I think our businesses were complementary enough that one of these seemed to make the most sense to bring light to what we do. And so that's what this is about. So I am initially intrigued because I think you were the first person that I knew of that was a professional photo organizer.
Yep.
Being in the photography and video business especially. So I know how difficult that can be. How did you get in?
Yeah, so I've always loved photos. Like even when I was a kid, my parents had photo albums and I'd go and pull them off the shelves and look through them. So I loved the stories that my parents were telling through their photo albums. So after the birth of my first daughter, I made it a point that I'm gonna make these photo albums. And I've been meticulous about doing it every year. But it wasn't, it was a hobby. It wasn't my career. I had a real job. But then right after my father passed away, I was in charge of creating the memorial boards for his services. And my kids were helping me put together those photos, and they kept asking questions about him. And they didn't know him as a young guy. They didn't know him as a dad. They only knew him as a grandpa. And he was really sick and cranky. I realized my kids can get to know him through the photos. And so I launched my business a month after he passed so that I can tell people's stories through the power of photos.
And that's everything. If someone gives you boxes, right? It's not you going through a year of taking photos of them. That's kind of them giving you their memories.
Yep. So as a photo organizer, I can take people's print photos that they have in boxes and bins and envelopes, and I can digitize them because that way they can be stored forever as a digital file, and then create it into a book. I also can take people's digital files from their SD cards, from their phones, from their cloud accounts, from their Google accounts, from any other cloud account that exists. There's crazy amounts of places where people store photos nowadays. I think that people are actually really overwhelmed by the many options that are out there. We just got an email. Someone said, oh, well, now that Picasso's gone, what are we supposed to be doing? Right, Picasso came, Picasso went. Flickr came, Flickr went. I mean, there's all these new places, and people are overwhelmed. So I help kind of reel it all in, have a central location, and then do something with those photos.
I tend to do a lot of side notes if you didn't notice from our first conversation. But you could have some pretty interesting content on either Facebook or just your website as blogs, just really hammering down all the different photo sites. Like either what's popular when it becomes relevant. I know, you could probably do it as a monthly thing instead of, because daily is just ridiculous, but like
I wouldn't
monthly,
be able to keep up.
That might be an interesting.
There's the APO, which is an organization that kind of brings together all of us professional photo organizers. They have daily, weekly, monthly blogs that they send out. I kind of filter, I'll share. They're doing the content. I'm not writing much of it. But there's a lot of sharing that happens within the industry. We're a tight-knit group. I think that, I don't want to say any incorrect numbers, but like 600 of us. And that we just share each other's information and content. And someone wrote something about how to go about making a photo book. And so I share that. If somebody ever wants to do it themselves, they can, or they can hire me.
Right. Well, yeah, as long as you're sharing it, if you get where people are feeding that information and then just sharing it to whatever your audience is, that's a great thing.
There's a lot of social media platforms too to keep up with Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, and there's different audiences for that too. You know, kind of the professionals are on LinkedIn and the fun. You know, it's just they're all so different.
Yeah. Have you ever done any corporate books?
I am trying to. That is where my background's in construction, so I think that a construction company has a great story to tell.
Yeah.
It's not just about the groundbreakings and the ribbon cuttings. It's about the people, because there's a lot of contractors out there, right? So when you interview for a job, they're not hiring you for necessarily your skills. They're hiring the people. They want to make sure that the owner has the chemistry with the people, and people have stories, and people, you know, we're all human, and so there's so much more to a corporation than, you know, the paper and the numbers and all that. There's stories, and I love the stories. I used to work for this couple great companies, and we had fun, and we did fundraisers for our clients, and it was just, we built relationships. It's the stories with the relationships.
So what kind of services do you offer?
So pretty much anything that touches photos. I'm not a photographer. I leave that to the professionals. But once those photos are taken, I can do anything with them. The print photos, I can scan them. The digital photos, I create hubs. I put them into an organized system. I add metadata, which is the information that's associated with the photo, onto it, especially like if a scanned photo. If it was a photo from the 50s and I scan it today, it's going to say it was taken today. Well, I change that metadata so that matches, so that if someone puts it into their collection, then they can find it. So I tag and I file and I add keywords. I create wall displays. I create luxury photo books. And the photo books are different than what, you know, you would create through the Shutterfly or Costco or Walmart. They're the higher end books that a professional photographer would offer you. Really just gorgeous coffee table books.
So the books, so breaking down, so how would it be different, I guess, basically, if I were to do something versus you?
Well, for starters, I know a few tricks of the trade, so I can make them probably faster than you can. And one of the things that I feel is really important to everybody nowadays is time. Time with our families, time to go on vacation, time to enjoy making those memories. The time it takes to find all your photos and pull them off of your SD cards, or pull them out of your cloud account, or pull them off of your spouse's camera and collect them, and then pick through those photos. It's time. And so the biggest difference is the time it would take you versus the time it would take me. I'm a professional. I do this. I love doing it. And I set aside the time to do it. And you could do it. And there are services where you can send it in and they're like, okay, your book's made. But it's not necessarily the story. Like when I choose the photos, I will cluster photos that go together so that it tells the story. And I try to draw emotion into those books so that when people are looking through it, they're feeling like they're there. It's a story. I don't read much. I don't like words. I like the pictures.
Yeah. So. It was funny. How you are a storyteller. I mean, and that's the difference. I could see myself sending in 50 photos and just saying, just put it in a book.
Yeah.
And then I'll get it. And then it's all, here's the wedding next to, you know, an opening Bears game, or you know, something that doesn't relate, but like there's an actual
there's a chronology to it, and
it
just there's a flow. And there are some books where they just slap a photo on each page. That's fine if that's what somebody wants. Great. That's not what I do. It's about having that cohesive flow. And then the end product is the finishes are upgraded. It's, you know, leather bound with embossed, or it's a linen finish, you know, with foil stamping in the pages. They're just thicker. It's photo quality. It's, you know, press paper. It's just, it has a nicer, more elegant feel. It's not just flimsy paper. I mean, some of my personal books, you know, just flip, flip, flip because my children go and they tear through it. But then I have the nicer one off in storage up to the side, so that when they're older, they can look through the nicer ones.
In their 20s, you can bring it out and be like, here with a good memory. Yeah. So that's truly like your books, I started laughing because I was imagining somebody sending you 80 selfies and like, here, can you make a nice book? So that's something you just want to do through Shutterfly with like your 2 months of selfies.
Yep,
But like
yep,
if
yep.
you have a relationship story or really the story, like something special you want to remember.
I've done a dating book, like a courtship book, and that couple ended up getting engaged like 3 months after she gifted him the book for his birthday. And they're getting married this June. I love doing wedding books. Wedding books are just fun. I mean, they're just beautiful.
And that's wedding photo, like someone gives you all the wedding photos, or
Yes.
that's like
Yeah.
leading up to it?
Yep.
wedding
No.
photos too?
I've done. They give me the photos that they have rights to.
Right, and then
Most photographers, if they don't make the book for them, then they give them the rights to the photos, and they send me their photos, and I create a book
Gotcha.
for them of their wedding day. And I had a client recently renew their wedding vows,
Oh, sorry.
and so I created a vow renewal book, and it's just them walking down the aisle renewing their vows with their children and grandchildren. Again, it was just a beautiful leather-bound book that hopefully they're going to keep on their coffee table because it's for their 40th anniversary. And so it's a
Right.
really special
Yeah.
day and really meaningful. But I do everything. Baby books, year in review, baby's first year, baby's second year, baby's third. I think I've gone up to baby's fifth. Not so much a baby anymore.
Right. And then, milestones. So you kind of mentioned it. So obviously the bigger thing. So storytelling. You're not a photographer.
No, gosh, no. I leave the photography to my husband. I don't know.
That's a good team, though.
Yeah,
that's-
absolutely. But taking a photo's not that hard, but yet sometimes my photos still come out blurry. Even if I click the little square on my iPhone or on I have a small little camera. He's got the big, what I call the dad camera, the SLR. I don't know. He takes such better pictures.
The dad camera. Well,
dad
that's a
camera,
nice
yeah.
camera. I mean, the camera difference is
But even when I'm using
his.
the digital SLR, my photos just don't turn out as crisp as his.
Yeah.
And so being a photographer is an art form. I think that there's skill. I don't think that everybody can do it, and I'm proof of that. And I don't belong behind the camera. I don't necessarily belong in front of the camera, but I belong using the photos that
Right.
people give me. Like that's my place, and I know that's my place.
I'm gonna cut that and use that as on the site. That'll be my. But so I mean that. So many people, I guess, that's half of where businesses struggle because people need your service or whatever. Like any, not just you, but like so many of it, like video and photo. But people are like, no, I can do it with my iPhone.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So it's like that educational
Yes.
pain versus
I mean, what we do, it's not that complicated, right? But it does require some skill and patience, and the amount of time that something that I'm doing, like creating a photo book, like I said, you can do it, but I can do it faster, and I can do it with I have access to better quality products. I can try making a video, but it's not going to flow, and it's going to be choppy, and the sound might not be good because I don't have the equipment, and so we all need to figure out our place.
Exactly.
And not think that we can do it all ourselves. And I help people who want to do it themselves.
Right.
I offer one-on-one coaching for a client who says, okay, I have a collection, what should I do with it? And so we work, an hour a week, an hour a month, and I offer, here are your steps that you need to take, go do them and come back and report back. And it's just this like back and forth coaching, kind of like you work with a personal trainer. The personal trainer is not going to work out for you. You have to work out. But the personal trainer tells you what to do. And so kind of that's how I work with my coaching clients. Because people can do it themselves. They just need to have the time.
Right.
And they have to have the desire. Like they have to want to do this. And not everybody wants to do it. I don't want to clean my own house, yet I hire someone to do it for me.
Right.
That
is that's the example of like almost all businesses.
Right.
It's like once you can relieve the stress of cleaning a house to somebody else, then you can do it to like
we're all capable of cleaning our own houses, but we choose not to. Or
I do a terrible job of it.
I
try and do
awful.
it, but I'm terrible.
Because
I have no interest.
Yeah. Or I try to go through it so fast. Like, but it's all sorts of different services. Mowing the lawn or
Right.
even hiring an accountant. I've got a stack of receipts like this thick. I keep putting them off to the side, and I'm like, at the end of the week, I'll input them at the end. And it has just grown, and now I've got receipts since, I think, May. I was caught up until May, and I'm like, forget it. I got to hire someone. Like, I'm capable.
Right.
But I don't want to.
Right.
I'd rather go scan 2,000 photos.
Right.
I'd rather go make a book or organize. I don't want to enter data
Right.
into a spreadsheet.
I think that's a J. Abraham line where if you can do your thing that you love, then you make like twice as much to pay someone to do, in that hour to clean a house.
Right.
You have someone to do it. Like clearly scanning 2,000 photos is more of makes more sense cost-wise to do that than clean your house for an hour.
Absolutely.
Maybe
And
do a
it'll
photo
end up
shoot.
better because the professionals know they've got the right
They have the right tools.
They have the tools and they have the know-how. They know what product to use where. Funny story, when we were living in Andersonville, the counter in the kids' bathroom was, messy. So I just grabbed the first bottle of cleaning solution that I could find. It was toilet bowl cleaner. And I put that, which is really a harsh chemical.
Yeah.
And so it comes out like in a line. So there was a line, like
Oh,
a
where
swivel
you-
line,
yeah.
where I
Yeah.
poured, and then, I rubbed it. But my husband's like, what did you use on this?
Yeah.
I'm like, toilet bowl cleaner? He's like, that's for our toilet. Yeah, no, I shouldn't clean.
Probably bleach in it. Yeah.
Yeah, bleach and all sorts of harsh chemicals. And it was on marble. So
Uh,
I ruined it. Yay me.
sorry, new owners.
We tried to buff it out a little bit so it was faded. But yeah, he's just like,
Right.
just don't clean.
See, I guess, so you probably got almost conditioned to that with construction. You said, how long were you in construction?
Ah, gosh, from 95 to 11.
So 26,
No. 16 years.
what's my math?
16.
So you would know hiring out at those, right? Because you were, what were you?
So I worked for a couple general contractors as a project manager.
Yeah,
So
so-
I subbed out, we hired the subs and managed the subcontractors on different projects. And then I moved into the sales side on business development.
Because that would be like you trying to save money and be like, I'm going to lay this sidewalk.
Right. Yes.
I can do it. We're going to save
Yep.
whatever.
Yep. I've seen it done.
Yeah.
I'll just pour the concrete.
That's- yeah.
I'm good.
So you know that,
Yeah.
which is why you're like,
You sub
people
it
have
out.
their place.
Yes.
That's so good.
Absolutely. And I find that I had a client say to me, oh, I don't need your services. I can do this myself. I'm like, great.
Cool.
Go for it. If you run into any trouble, let me know. But just keep in mind that time is valuable. And the time that you're spending working on this project, you're taking that time away from spending with your child and your grandchild. And she wants to do stuff with, her grandchild. I'm like, go for it.
Yeah.
But I'm here for you because I know that I won't reminisce. Like, her photos are important
Right,
to
yeah.
her. And so she'll look through the
See, that's
photos and it's
true.
just like, those memories come back and you linger.
That's true.
I have a project I've been wanting to do now for 2 years. It's with my dad's photos. And every time I pick up a stack, the emotion comes, the tears
Right.
come, and I do a little bit, and then I have to set it aside. I might just need to hire a photo
Yes.
organizer to do it for me.
You probably do.
Yeah,
See, that's amazing. But that's
the
That's
truth.
it.
That is it's the time.
and it's how stubborn we are to give up the time versus the money.
Right.
Versus,
Because it's not cheap.
Right.
I mean, you're paying me for my time, and
lot
then and
time.
then it's a lot of time. So you do the math, and you take 10 hours, and the hourly rate, it
Right.
costs, and then the printing of a product or the ordering of a product, it's
right.
a
business.
luxury service.
It's a business. It's not a hobby, though. So
It's
that's
not a
why
hobby.
you're doing it seriously with high quality stuff instead of you're not hiring an intern to do the story to save money.
Right.
Like, okay, here we'll do this cheaper, and this person that doesn't understand storytelling
Exactly.
is going to put it together.
Right.
And that's the difference. And you'll just be able to see that versus
Right.
which someone's Shutterfly versus.
Right.
Yeah, that's funny. That's life. That really is the balance between just all stubbornness, cost,
Yeah.
and then time.
And just saying, okay, this is important to me. This is important enough to me that I'm going to invest. Because you're investing in your history, your legacy, anything that you create or anything that you do with your photos will be passed on to the next generation and the next generation. I mean, our grandparents did their part. They took photos, they put them in frames. They took their photos, they put them in boxes. They did their part. Now it's up to us to either preserve those or get rid of them, but keep some so that that history is still there. And our kids, my children aren't going to want my old photo albums. You know, I've got them from high school, and even I don't want all of them. But it's up to me to take out what I want and either tell the story that goes with it or get rid of it. You know, it's keeping it in boxes in my basement or in my office isn't productive. What anybody's going to want. So if something happens to me, it's going in the garbage by my kids. They don't care. So we need to think about how these photos that we're taking are going to live on. You know, so.
Do you have, as far as book is concerned, is there like one size fits all premium, or do you have levels? Or?
I do have levels.
You don't have to go into them too much, but I'm just wondering, do you have?
Yeah, so I mean, it depends on the finishes of the book, and there's a flat rate for design services because it's going to take me the same amount of time regardless of which quality book product someone wants to end up with. But
so that's mostly post stuff. Like you're still going to do. You're not negotiating on your quality. Like it's really, so you're just always going to offer awesome stuff. And then if you just want it to look like, if you want to save $200 to make it look worse after spending all this money, but like, all right, let's not spend this last $200 versus.
I mean,
so
like,
that's kind of what.
If somebody wants a paperback book, that's going to cost a lot less than a hardcover linen or leather book.
Newspaper print versus carbon.
But my time, I've still spent the time to design it.
That makes sense.
So it's the level of finish. And it's
Okay.
the amount of photos that goes into it. Like, if you've got a wedding where your photographer is handing over 2,000 photos and you want to cull down to 500, that takes time. Or if you're giving me 50 photos and you want those 50 photos in a book, it's quick. You know, so it's the time. But, you know.
So it's really time based, but and it's flexible. So then depending on and so ideally someone should come to you with like 200 photos and be like, okay, these I want in the book. And then these 2,000 I want scanned kind of thing, is that?
Yeah, absolutely. If they want to take the time to do it, that's them then doing the prep work. Their clients are like, no prep work for me, here's all my collection. Do something with it.
200 photos,
just figure it out and just bill me monthly. And I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And so I work with budgets. If someone says, okay, I want to do this, but I can only spend X amount this month, then we do that X amount for an entire year. And then at the end of the year, they have a collection scan, they have it organized, they have a book. So it depends on what people's budget is.
That makes sense.
You know, if someone wants to shell out, you know, $1,000 tomorrow, great. I'll take it. I'm not going to turn it down.
I hear you. Do you do this with videos or is it only photos?
So the only video element that I do is I sometimes add on a slideshow with the still photos.
Oh, I meant like organizing.
Oh, do I
videos.
organize?
Like if I said, here's 6 hard drives, can you make sure there's no dupes or?
So yes, I am organizing a collection of videos, and whereas photos get organized chronologically usually, and then, you know, like spring break, a week's worth of photos will be into one folder instead of daily. For videos, I don't do it chronologically, I do it by theme. So the collection I'm doing right now, it's a family of 5. The oldest is a dancer, so she has a ton of dancing videos. So she's got her own folder, and then the 2 boys have their own folders with their sports videos. Because ultimately, when you're going to be searching for a video, you want to find that specific dance. And so mom will know, okay, I don't remember exactly when it was, but I know which child it was. And so that's how I organize video.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Video's harder, though, because you almost have to watch
Yeah.
a lot of them. I mean, you can tell from the image, the little thumbnail, that it's a dance video, so then I can just shove it in.
Right.
But, like, some of the sport ones, I'm like, which child is it? And
Right.
which sport? And where are they?
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
So video organizing does take a lot longer because it's more, I have to touch every
Yeah.
video versus just looking at the dates of photos and being like, okay, they're in Florida. So.
One time-saving tip on that, which I don't know if there is an easy time-saving tip, but like if you import into like iMovie or one of those movie, like put it into an editing software, because then you can easily scrub through, but then you still can separate, because when I have like 30 movies, I don't watch them, like individually clicking on them, that's like 2 minutes for them to pull up,
Right,
blah,
right,
blah,
right.
blah. But if you just dump them into like iMovie and you just scrub, because then you can just really scrub, and that might be an easier way
Okay.
instead of...
I will try
and
that.
then, actually, now that I'm saying this too, you could... Interesting. You could actually bucket them as you like pull them into the iMovie.
Yeah.
You could separate, like, just leave space in the timeline. So like, here's dance videos, 30 seconds of space. Here's out at a restaurant, 30 seconds of space. So you could like actually do it in the program, segmented, and you could potentially render out one movie of like all the dance into one file. This could be like an add-on service that you can charge.
That's
But,
something
like,
I would leave that
or
to
you
the
can leave that,
professionals.
or you
I
can
mean,
leave that to me, and I'll
were
let
we
it.
just talking about having
Right.
knowing your
Knowing
limits
your
and
limit.
knowing what you can and can't
So
be
this is
capable
my
of doing?
add-on
This
to
is
you.
what you would do, because that would be awesome to have a congruent video of highlights
videos.
of the dance.
Right.
'Cause that would be awesome.
So
She's really
that's where
talented.
So I'm telling you so that's my thing then.
That's
So what you
cool.
should do is hire me to do this for your
I
people.
would do that. You would be,
So
my
that's where we work.
subcontractor.
Cool.
And you could create my videos.
I like that.
Because I don't. I don't know if I want to.
No, you know.
I know my limits.
That's
Yeah.
perfect. Knowing that you know is the hardest thing to get in life.
Yep.
I think, because I know for me, you just do stuff and you're like, wait a minute, I
Right.
shouldn't have done that. So to
Right.
know ahead of time.
Yep, absolutely. That would be an awesome add-on service, and that would be something that I think that at least this client that I'm thinking of would really benefit from. I mean, it's
Good.
because again, it's telling a story.
Right.
And I'm about telling stories. And so if there's a story of dance or a story of football, and someone's football career started in like little
Right, the young
little peaks,
to the
and then
high school.
he goes and becomes the high school star. You've got that progression. Last year during the Olympics, Lindsey Vonn had a commercial, and it was to Girl on Fire, and it was this awesome, like telling the story of like how she had gotten injured and her getting helicoptered off, and it was like the most powerful commercial with these video, like that's a story.
Snippet, yeah.
It's snippets, and I love that.
That's what I like about video, and I guess it is the same about photo. Like, the story naturally shows up, like when you pull back enough. Like, I'm sure looking at 10 photos, it's hard to see a story, but like once you see like 300, then it's like, oh, that's
Right.
the progression, and then.
Well, the other problem that we're all guilty of this, is that you take a shot, but no one's taking just one photo anymore.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we took a family picture, and there's 6
Right.
photos of there's only 4 of us. So out of 6, that's cluttering. So I only needed 1. But we didn't think that someone's eyes were open or that someone was smiling. So we took 6, and now I have to go through and find the best, delete the 5, and hold on to that 1. And so that takes time too, because those aren't exact duplicates.
Right.
So depending on how you set up like duplicate finding software, it's not going to pick up because they're all different.
Right. Editing photos, just in general, like I've done a lot with one of the photographers I work with. We do a lot of portraits, corporate portraits, and then I sit down with them and help them choose, go through 60 photos for their one bio photo. And you need the 60 photos because it's like, as Matt says, it's like 90%. Like 90% of the way through the session is really when the best photo comes out.
Oh, really?
So you kind of need those 50 before you get to that good one. But then, yeah, whittling it down is just... But you need to look through them all, because that's the thing. You have to know what all 50 are before you choose a favorite.
Right.
And then you choose a favorite, and then, yeah, so
Like if you've got a group shot and there's not one where everybody's eyes are open, do you move someone's head from one to the
you
other?
can't, I think that would depend on if there is a good one. Normally, it just shows up that there's a good one.
Okay.
There's usually just like the one, whatever. For me, it really is always like one of the last three.
Okay.
Always end up being the best. Like,
Interesting.
if you're like done and you're like, you know what, I'm going to put everything away. Let me just do one more or a couple more. For some reason, I always like those.
Because
But
people are relieved. They're like, yes, he's
yeah,
leaving.
like there's no,
We're
there's
done.
everyone's chill, everyone's
Right.
finally relaxed,
Yeah.
and then it happens.
Huh.
How do people do this?
Well, multiple ways. I do have a website where people can fill out an I'm interested form. And
What is that?
www.Znimka Creations. And Znimka is Znimka Creations.com. And it's a hard word to pronounce, and I've been told I should change my name, but it means photo in Ukrainian. So a little play on words, photo creations.
You have to do it.
I had to keep it. I mean, I'm Ukrainian, and I'm proud of that. So I could have been, photo books by Lida, but
Don't change
where's
it.
the fun in that?
Don't change it,
So it's a conversation piece, just like my maiden name was. But it had 10 letters and only one vowel. So,
Right.
it's you need that storytelling. People a lot of my work comes from referrals.
Mm-hmm.
So people just pick up the phone and say, oh, my friend Sandy told me to call you. And so we just start and I do an assessment over the phone to find out your goals and your needs. And I have a questionnaire that kind of gets you thinking about what you want, which service you're interested in, and how serious you are. Because some people say, yeah, I want this.
Right.
But they don't really put much thought into either the financial implications or any time that they would need to just hunt and gather their own things. And then we just go from there. I mean, it's smooth sailing. I try to keep it really simple. I communicate in whoever's preference. Some
Right.
people don't like the phone. Some people don't like to text. Some people don't like emails. My older clientele, they only like
Phones.
phone calls.
Yep.
They like the phone. They text sometimes, but yeah, email, forget it. They like the phone. But
So
then
you're everywhere.
My busy moms, they like to text.
Right.
They don't like email. It's just you
Yeah.
just kind of, and then it's just funny. You kind of have that pattern. But anyway, I communicate whichever way they prefer, and I do monthly updates. Everything is electronic, invoicing.
Right.
Everything's easy.
Good. And then so the website, obviously, you can send something in, but you have a layout of your services on
I
there,
do,
right? So
yep.
people can kind of see. I think it's almost like if you just have 1,000, probably more photos that you just keep looking at and you want to do something with, at least reach out, right? Because
absolutely.
Because then you can gauge. You can, all right, here's scanning, here's actually turning them into something.
Mm-hmm.
And I would almost see. Does this happen where you just get people in as like scanning clients, and then after they review them, then they're like, you know what, now let's do a book? Does that happen more often than not, or is it?
I'd say 50-50.
It is?
Yeah, because some people just want to store them. They just want them digitized just so that they know that they're safe. When it comes to protecting data, whether it's personal photos, documents, there's a concept of 3-2-1. So you should have things stored 3 ways on 2 different media types, with one of them being offsite. So if you have something in print, that's one of the ways.
Right.
And you have it digitally, that's a second way. And then you can load it up to the cloud, that's the third way. The cloud is offsite. So yeah, having something in print is actually, print has tested time.
It works.
It works as long as there's no natural disaster, fire, flood.
Right. Yeah.
We've got those fires out in California. I live in an area where basements flood. My photos have been flooded. I've had to drive them out. And so we are all susceptible to things happening to our physical photos. But just get them saved. Pick out your favorites. If there's 2,000, are all 2,000 the favorites, or is there 200? get the favorites stored and saved. Because that story, there's
Right.
a story that goes with those. And
Yeah.
we're trying to save that story.
Good. So regardless, reach out to you. I think
Yes.
that's probably the ideal, and then people can figure out what they want, et cetera, et cetera. Side note, that would be, is that a general rule, the 3-2-1, or is that like something you thought of, or is it a general rule?
No, someone has it on their website that says Homeland Security recommends that. I got it from Appo.
Oh.
Appo's been kind of preaching that. So no, I didn't create that.
But you should run with that somehow. I feel like that could be a fun, easy way for people to get their mind into.
Yeah, I mean it's
extra backups.
actually a pretty important like little formula.
Yeah.
And it's not just. I don't think it applies just to our photos. I think that businesses,
Yeah.
try to keep their important things, filed in a safe way. 'Cause
Yeah.
I have a photo organizing friend who also does small business organizing, and she definitely follows that with their important documents.
Yeah. Video. I have so many hard drives.
Well, and where are they? Are
Right.
they all stored in the same
Yeah, not a
place?
safe deposit box. Like, yeah.
Right.
The house.
The
burns
house.
down, it's over.
Yeah, right. So we have an external hard drive and then a backup of that, but that backup should be like at my sister's.
Right.
Right. So if something happens to our house, then the backup is safe at her house.
Now that I'm thinking, I think I probably have a safe I could throw it into too.
Yeah.
That's probably like a fireproof safe. It
Probably.
could still ruin it, but still, that's probably a better start than
Right.
not.
And also testing those external hard drives because they
Yeah.
go bad after a while. So
Which
it's
is
like if
also
they're
how
sitting
I got
around.
so many, because they'd start tweaking out on me. So I was like, okay, time to buy a new one and
Well, so make a
transfer it all.
backup of it, but then toss the bad one.
I keep them all just because it still
Okay.
works.
It still works.
But I
okay.
just don't use it like regularly.
Are they labeled? Like,
Yeah.
do you know what's on? Okay.
And I just recently took all of them from like my 5 from the last 20 years and put them onto like my 4
Okay.
or 5 terabyte to just bring it back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my laptop, I had 2 laptops and like 4 or 5 external hard drives that
Wow.
I put onto a.
Yeah. Did you?
So much shit.
Have you been doing this long enough where you had stuff on like DVDs and CDs?
Some of my college stuff is on that.
Okay.
And it's my real,
Like,
it's just okay. I don't care.
When someone says, "Oh, I want to burn my photos to a CD," I'm like, "No,
That's-
no, you really don't.
Not anymore, yeah.
You really don't. I mean, I've got them, and if you really want to, but like most computers don't even have the drive anymore.
Yeah, none of them,
I have a relatively new laptop, and it doesn't.
Yeah, mine doesn't either.
Our desktop at home does, but that computer's just like wigged out. It's like
Right, you just
it's
have
all
just in case.
high-techy everything.
Oh.
But
Well, like CDs, it's like 750 megs. DVDs are like 4 gigs. It's like you can buy a 32 gig SD card for like $10.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
which can hold those 20,000
Right.
photos.
And hard
versus-
drives are so compact
Yeah.
now. I mean, they're like the size of a phone.
Right.
So yeah, I have a few of those, but I don't want to have a ton of external hard drives. Like I want to have my working one for my clients, and then my backup. I don't want to get in the habit of just having them
Right.
all over the place. 'Cause
No,
that's just going to make me frazzled.
It is. That's why I'm still trying my workflow. It's like every couple weeks I end up like filling a bunch. So I got to go from like having nothing on my laptop because it's a pain in the ass to always have to plug in an external to just do work.
Right.
So that's why I'm like trying removing everything off the hard drive locally so I can just work with that without pulling out hard drives.
Are there any cloud-based,
It's
like does SmugMug give you enough
no.
storage where you could?
Well, they're just mostly photo, right?
They
Or do
store
they do video?
They store video.
Well, then I'll look at them.
You can store video on SmugMug.
All right, I'll look at them.
But I
I've
don't
just been
know if
doing
there's
YouTube,
limits.
just
Okay.
unlisted, private, public. Like depending
Okay.
on what they are. Like if it's a finished piece, it goes up,
Okay.
and then just to have something.
Yeah, I mean, just to have it somewhere else.
because you could always download it from them. It's not.
They don't change like resolutions or compressions or anything like that. Because that's one of the problems with storing photos in the cloud. Different service providers will
Oh.
compress the photos.
Oh, so then.
So like Amazon Prime Photos doesn't compress, but Google and Shutterfly does. And Shutterfly's not meant for storage anyway. But
No.
like there's different avenues that people are using to store their photos, but one of them's going to compress, one of them has limits on amount of space, one of them you can't access. So there's no like ideal solution, but the best one is actually the one that's not free.
Right.
And some people are like, well, I don't want to pay for storage. I'm like, well, then you're potentially going to lose what you're storing in the cloud. So so I hope you don't mind me giving you suggesting content ideas, but that would be another great, like just a comprehensive PDF. One, if you can get some kind of commission through Dropbox or any of those cloud, that'd be interesting to really break them down as like a PDF. Like, here's what, just so when people give you their email or something that they can give free from you. Right.
You can just be like, here's the breakdown of all of them.
That's a great idea.
Here's why you should pay or not.
Yep.
And so at least they know, because then it also pushes it on them to take a proactive approach.
Absolutely.
And then eventually they'll be like, you know what, let's just scan them, make them look nice, and then let's upload something.
No, that's a great idea.
So that could be fun. Good.
Yep. Thank you.
I always try and give one or two good ideas, or I try.
I love it.
So that's
great. Now it creates more work for me, but whatever.
I know. Well,
and I have to go home and create this.
You could just sub it out.
Yeah. Well, it's already been, parts and pieces have already been done.
Right.
I just need to pull from multiple sources because, someone's already done a big comparison of Google, Dropbox, and Amazon. So I've got that. Now I need to add in SmugMug and Forever. It's like...
Flickr still, you don't like Flickr at all?
Flickr's been bought by SmugMug.
Yeah, you think they're going to kill it? Totally?
I don't know.
What I saw is they got to, they put down the limits on the free stuff.
Yeah,
and they're just
right.
pushing you over to the paid.
Yeah.
Which is typical. But yeah, they could kill it. Maybe that ruins it.
Or you have a certain amount of time to then transfer everything over to SmugMug. I mean, I remember Kodak Gallery, when they got purchased by Shutterfly, they're like, okay, you have, anything you want to take out of here, do it. Otherwise, we're migrating it over to the Shutterfly platform. And I didn't care because everything that I have on those sites, those are my backups. Like I used that to create projects. Everything is still on our computer's hard drive. And then the external. So the problem with trying to get your photos off of Shutterfly, you'd have to call and get a CD order. It was just this huge headache, and it was just a real pain in the neck.
Right.
And they didn't make it easy. Now there's a new system, but it's painful. It is. Some of these cloud accounts are just painful to get your photos out.
Right.
You get them in, but then it's
yeah.
hard to get out. Google, you can only do 500 photos at a time. Shutterfly, you can do 500 at a time in 100 quantity zip files. So you get 5 zip files of 100 each. It's just a pain. It's a headache.
It's just different, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well,
how do you
thanks.
think it went?
I think that went very well.
Okay.
We went longer than I thought because
Okay.
we got comfortable, and that's how it is.
Okay.
But we were talking about good things and not the weather. So
Yeah.
I think that's good.
All right.
You work with clients all over the U.S. It's not just Illinois, right? I mean, if people, they can either mail them to you or...
Yeah, I mean, ideally, the national clients that I've worked with have been all digital. We work through some sort of shared account where they share their
Gotcha.
digital photos, and I create books for them. I can also organize, but a lot of my organizing clients, they have multiple devices, and so I prefer to go pick them up
Yeah.
by hand and deliver them by hand. I trust UPS and FedEx and all that, but
Yeah, you never
I
know.
have not done much remote organizing. It is something I could do. I just haven't.
Kind of just security and, like, if you lose a hard drive, in the mail,
Then that's...
they'll replace it for $100, but 20 years of memories is
You
not...
can't put a price. That's the thing. You can't put a price tag on these memories. And there was someone had mailed something into one of those scanning companies, and they sent her back photos that weren't hers. And she's like, "Where are my photos?" And there's risk in
Right.
everything that we do. I just prefer to be the very hands-on service provider. I come to your home, I get your boxes of memorabilia, we have an
Right.
agreement in place. We sign contracts. I will take care of your things as if they're my own. It's personal. The stories that go with the photos, there's no price tag on it.
Right.
It's up to me to take care of it, and my insurance isn't going to cover the value, because the value is priceless, because
Yeah.
it's personal and it's memories. The piece of paper that photo is printed on, 50 cents,
Right.
but it's a lifetime of memories.
Right.
So digitally, I can work all over the country, the world. I've got clients in Colorado, Texas, DC. But the
yeah.
scanning, it's
Local.
been more localized.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for watching, listening, anythinging. I hope you had a good time with us, and you reach out to Lida if you need photo organizing.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks.
You're welcome.